Hey guys, David here and welcome to another Dark Art Guitars video. In front of me you can see a future 8-string Alchemist guitar, but as you can see right now the wood is quite raw and it still needs quite a bit of work. So in this video I'm going to take you on the journey along with me how I turned this pile of wood into a hopefully very beautiful guitar. Now, while we still have just a pile of wood here, I have actually started on it, as you can see. Here for the neck blank, I have glued it up already. It's some wenge with flame maple between, and the body blank, which is swamp ash, I've also glued up already. Now the hard piece, of course, for this build will be this beautiful Buckeye burl top. I cut this myself from a billet. I have like one more top that is very similar to this in case anyone is interested. And I think this will look really cool. So enough yapping, let's get building. First step to get everything prepped is to joint and kind of glue up this top. Normally I would use a plane to get the kind of mating edge nice and flat and perfect. But with Buckeye burl, the grain goes so much all over the place that it's basically impossible to get a clean plane shaving. So I'm just going to use a leveling sanding beam. And Buckeye burl is also quite soft, so it does not take a lot to sand it to shape. Just want to make sure to keep it perfectly flat and don't kind of have it rocking back and forth, as that will create, of course, not a flat surface. And there we go, that's all clamped up. You can actually put quite a bit of pressure on with just a bit of tape like that, so for a very thin glue joint like a top, this will work just fine. It's a bit too wide for my clamping jig here. I could cut it down already before, but well, this also works and I was too lazy to do that right now. So with the arm bevel cut in here, as well as some of the excess trimmed off, I can now go ahead and bend the piece. Now Buckeye burl is very soft, so I can almost like kind of push it to place already. Now if I would push it all the way, I would probably crack it. So I'm going to moisten it down and use some heat on this bending iron to just get it to conform. But it should not take a lot of effort at all. Plus, look at that color, just gorgeous. And that's it already. Just took one heat in this Buckeye burl. So I'm getting ready here to fill in all of these holes with some glow-in-the-dark green epoxy. And because I will inevitably get some epoxy on the rest of the wood here, I went ahead and stained it already. This way, if the epoxy penetrated into the wood and I cannot stain it anymore, it's already stained. Most of this will probably get sanded off and I will have to restain everything, but this is just in case anything kind of gets epoxy in it, I will not have any raw wood spots left. So here I mixed up some chartreuse colored glow powder, roughly like 40% by weight, into this epoxy, and I'm gonna fill these voids. Well, here we go. Made quite some good progress. I sanded the top flat here after filling it with epoxy, just using the drum sander. This way I got kind of the excess epoxy off. And then we already machined here the first side on the CNC, and now it's time to take it off. I'm just using some masking tape here with some super glue. On this first op, I'm not using a whole lot of it because it has a lot of surface area, not a lot of force pulling it away. But then once I flip it over and have a lot less tape kind of area to tape it down to, I will like make sure it's nicely stuck down and everything. Now the way I'm gonna align it when I flip it over is I made these three locating holes here, and I have some 8mm dowels that will go in here. And then this one on the bottom here is also my origin point. So before I put it down on the board, I will probe that hole that I will use for that and use that as my XY origin, and the top of the spoil board, or like the top plus the tape thickness, as my Z0. And that way everything will be nicely aligned. The reason why I'm using 3 instead of 2, which technically is over constraining it, is that these holes already have quite a bit of slop in them. So by using more, it just kind of averages out a bit more, and there's less wiggle room, and it kind of tends to locate a bit better. But what I should really do is replace this spoil board to have more tightly fitting locating boards. Then 2 will be perfectly fine. just as always, I forgot to probe the hole location again. But since these holes are on a 50mm grid, I can simply probe this hole here, which is 100mm down, and then set my origin off of that. It's funny just how often this happens. Now at this point I completely forgot that I was trying to record audio while recording the video clips themselves, so we're switching back to the good old voiceover. After finishing the body and the neck on the CNC, I'm moving on to the fretboard. This is a piece of African ebony, and after cutting it to the right thickness and cutting the profile out, I'm filling in the inlay by using some more of the same inlay powder mixed in epoxy that I used before. You could see that the logo here, the center, which is the logo of Ivan Ferrus, who this guitar is going to, this is in a slightly less green color. However, it has the same green glow as the other green powder pigment that I'm using, and it just creates a bit more visual interest during the daytime by having the center logo almost white and the rings in green, but then when it's glowing at night, they are both the same color. Now after I've cut in the fret slots and radiused the fretboard as well, I can take it off of the CNC, and this is where a vacuum fixture would be more easy to take it off, but I haven't gotten around to that yet. I didn't film it, but I also installed some carbon fiber reinforcements into the neck, and then I'm gluing the fretboard on and fixturing it with a vacuum bag. Doing the fretboard is basically the same as on any of my other guitars. I'm starting by getting it flat lengthwise and then making sure the radius is correct with a radiusing block. After that, I clean out the fret slots of any leftover sawdust that is maybe packed in there. Then go ahead and install the frets. You can see I'm using a combination of the fret press and the fretting hammer. That just means that I can get the frets in basically all the way with the fret press nice and evenly, and then hit them home with the fretting hammer to make sure that it is perfectly seated down all the time. Just that is what gave me the best results. The inlay for this build is of course luminlay, but while I usually use the blue luminlay, of course for this build I had to use the green luminlay, as well there is no other choice. After leveling, crowning and rounding over the edges of the frets, I sand them up to 600 or even 1000 grit, and then go over with 2 stages of polishing. First the more coarse compound, and then I wipe that off and go back in with an even finer one, which leaves me with these beautiful shiny polished stainless steel frets. Now at this point we've jumped forwards in time a bit. Not only have I glued in the neck, I've also shaped the contour where it joins up, as well as sanded the entire guitar up to 220 grit, as well as water popped it. This means that it is ready for the final staining, and you can see I'm applying this same green as I was using before. It's a mixture of green with some yellow in there, to get the proper nice kind of toxic moss green look. Kind of funny to see just how much the color changed from the stain drying, but once I apply some epoxy resin here to stabilize the burl, all of that color and contrast comes right back, and we see what the final color will be. Applying this epoxy not only fills in any small pores that are left, but also strengthens up the rather soft buckeye burl quite a bit, and makes sure that it doesn't dent very easily at all. On the swamp ash, I'm also applying epoxy grain filler. However, I've added in some fine glass beads as a filler material, which for one makes it so that I can fill the quite deep pores of the swamp ash a bit easier, but it also makes it a lot easier to sand, as it is a lot softer in a way to sand than pure epoxy. After applying it fairly liberally, I then sanded it perfectly flat. Applied a first thick coat of clear, sanded it that flat, and now here you can see me applying the black paint on the back. I've masked off the neck, which will remain natural, and then I'm starting off by just painting the back solid. After that, I move to the front and give it a nice burst around the edges, being very careful to not spray too far into the actual design. However, I will go back and kind of sand off any overspray, as I've already applied a coat of clear underneath here so that I don't have to worry about sanding into any of the stain. With the black color all applied and sanded back, I can move on to the clear coat. I'm applying a 2K polyurethane varnish here. It is made by Crop, and I'm applying the gloss here, applying fairly thick coats, just like basically as thick as I can go without it running. This way I only have to apply 2 or 3 coats before I can sand it back and polish it. Speaking of sanding and polishing, while the guitar looks shiny now, it is not actually done, and the finish just has this slight orange peel texture that is unavoidable when spraying a gloss finish. The only way to fix it is to go back and sand it perfectly flat and then polish it once again. I'm starting off with 800 grit sandpaper and then moving up to 1500 and 2000 grit. This is quite fine, however, I had better results with this quite hard 2K polyurethane sanding to a higher grit and then doing fewer polishing stages than the other way around. All of the flat areas go quite quickly, as I can use the random orbital sander here. This is the Festool Rotex 90. However, all of the roundovers and edges and all the inside rounded pits, those I have to do by hand, and although they make up a small percentage of the surface area, easily take up more than half the time. Once I think I have it all sanded out, then I go ahead and start polishing with the StewMac Fine polishing compound. I'm skipping the medium completely since I sanded up all the way to 2000 grit. After the first polishing steps here, I can usually find plenty of deep scratches that I have not gotten out, so I take the 2000 grit again by hand and go over any spots where deep scratches. Then kind of have this dance back and forth until I feel like all of the scratches left are quite fine. Then I go ahead and polish quite a bit more, with a bit more intensity, until then moving to the second polishing step, which is the swirl remover, also by StewMac, and that just gets you up to that last perfect sheen. This process of sanding flat and polishing up a guitar for me takes almost a day, and that is assuming that I don't sand through at any spot and have to go back and respray finish. Then for this guitar, the neck is going to be satin, so I go ahead, mask off the entire guitar, and then spray a very thin coat of satin over the neck. I just sanded the neck flat, but did not polish it. Doing it this way, I can make sure that I get a nice crisp transition and I don't accidentally polish part of the neck. With all the painting done, it is time for the final cleanup and the assembly. After removing all of the tape from the fretboard, I also make sure to round over the edges of it nicely and make sure that there's no sharp burrs there and it feels very nice and comfortable. If there's any paint that got under the tape, I also remove it at this point. The pickups for this build are Fishman Fluids Tosin Abasi signatures, and I really like this pickup set, the Tosin Abasi, and the client seems to like them as well and has chosen them for this build. You can also see that I installed a kill switch, or like a kill button for this build with an LED ring. It is simply wired to short the output to ground whenever it is pressed. Other than that, I'm using a 5-way toggle switch to select between the 2 pickups as well as the single coil voices. This is one of the recommended wiring setups from the Tosin Abasi manual. I'm using the Schaller mega switch here since I need all 4 switches in parallel. With the electronics all wired up, the build is complete, and here you can see the final results.